Hello, everyone.
Hi, you guys. Hi.
Do we know, is John joining or do I have to run the meeting? I can never remember the order.
Let me double check. I believe he confirmed.
Okay.
Yes, he confirmed.
Okay.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi, Eugene. How you doing?
Fine, Glenn.
Hi, Glenn. Hi.
I was thinking you were on your trip, Glenn. I guess you have a little while before you head off.
Tuesday I head off. Next
Okay.
coming Tuesday.
Have a good time.
Do we have a joint meeting on Monday?
Oh, I think we
19th?
might. It hasn't been confirmed. that I'm
No one's
aware.
confirmed. I don't know.
Yes, it is confirmed. I apologize
Okay.
for not letting you know, but it is a joint planning commission and DRC meeting.
Okay.
Yep. And Chair Gray has joined the meeting.
Oh, there. Okay.
Good evening. Apologies for a momentary technical difficulty. Let's see, it looks like we are all here. We are all here. So it's 7:02. Good evening. Let's call to order the meeting on September 14th, 2022 of the Lafayette Design Review Commission. Calling the roll. Glenn Cass,
Present.
Eugene Sim,
Here.
Armin Hadaloo. Armin's
Unmute.
very still on my screen. I wonder if he's got a connection problem.
Yeah.
Kristen
Here.
and John is here, and we think Armin is here, but he appears to have a connection issue. We just lost Armin, but I do expect he'll be back. We have an agenda this evening. Does anyone move to adopt or amend?
I'll make a motion to adopt. One correction or one point of note is on the consent calendar. I have to recuse myself on the Monticello Boulevard project.
Okay, thanks, Glenn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Glenn,
Aye.
Eugene,
Hi.
Kristen,
Aye.
and John is aye. I sure hope Armin can reconnect. But moving on, we have meeting minutes to review and approve. I do have a couple of comments on the minutes, if I may. On all three of them, I would ask that the spelling of my first name be corrected.
Okay, I will revise that.
And then there was one other comment also related to my name. You can see where I focus. In the July 13th meeting, item 7B was a project where the applicant was named Jim Gray. I did point out in the meeting that we were no relation. I didn't see that in the minutes. The minutes should reflect that, please. And Nancy, you're muted, but I saw you say okay.
Okay, so not everyone was present, so do we have to do those minutes one at a time or in groups?
I would recommend doing it one at a time.
Okay, so the first minutes, I, Glenn, and Eugene were present on July 13th.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve with the amendments recommended by John.
Second,
Okay, in favor, Glenn,
Aye.
Eugene,
aye.
and John is aye, and Kristen and Armin were not present at that meeting. The July 27th meeting, all of us were present except Kristen. I think
I'll
the
make a
three of
motion
us
to
can
adopt.
approve it without Armin. We have quorum.
Okay, so I make a motion to adopt with the recommendation on changes suggested by John.
Second,
Hello, Armin, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, I had an internet issue.
We are just looking at the meeting minutes of July 27th. You were present, and Glenn has motioned and Eugene has seconded to approve them with the one amendment regarding the spelling of my first name. So we're ready to vote. Glenn,
Aye.
Eugene,
aye.
Armin,
Aye.
and John is aye, and Kristen was not present at that particular meeting. We are also reviewing the minutes of our August 10th meeting. And we were, all of us were present except for Armin at that particular meeting. With the one correction of my name spelling, do we have a motion?
I'll motion.
Second,
Second,
move to approve, then voting Glenn,
Aye.
Eugene,
aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
and John is aye, and Armin was not present in that one. So that is our meeting minutes, which takes us to the next item, the continued public hearing, and which Glenn, you need to recuse yourself, I believe.
Yeah, I don't, because it's on consent, I don't have to leave the room.
Yeah, it's actually, the agenda doesn't have it under consent, but the
Oh.
motion, the recommendation by staff is to continue the matter.
Oh, okay.
So
What, was it on consent calendar?
it's listed as a continued public hearing.
Oh, okay. I thought because it was a continuation, it was a consent. I'm sorry.
I would have.
So then I guess I have to leave.
While we vote.
Well, I'm not, if it was on the consent, I'm allowed to stay. But if it's not on the consent, I guess I'm technically not supposed to be listening in. So I will
Participate.
I will kill my video.
Okay, then. So there is a request. So regarding the DR 20-19 DD 3721 Land LLC, the project on Mount Diablo Boulevard at 3721. The staff recommendation is to continue this matter to October 12th. Nancy, is there any reason to discuss the particulars, or shall we just continue?
No reason to discuss, just to continue. There's still some
Okay.
administrative matters to address.
Okay, very good then. Do we have a motion?
So moved, so moved.
And I second that.
Okay, so we have two motions and a second.
Okay.
So all in favor, Eugene,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Armin,
Aye.
and John is aye. So that will be continued to October 12th.
Yeah.
Okay, and now finally we actually get to some real business. Glenn, you're back. Welcome. We have a
John,
new public
You
hearing.
missed, John, you missed the item for any items not on the agenda for public questions or
Oh,
comments.
good point. Good point. That's number 3. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you for watching me. I apologize. Nancy, we can invite public comments for any items not on this or an upcoming agenda within the purview of this commission.
If anyone would like to make any comments on items not on the agenda, please use the raise hand function or press *9. There are no hands raised.
Okay, then we can continue. So sorry about that. We do have a new public hearing this evening. HDP 07-15CC. Michael and Catherine Colachico, if I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, I apologize. Request for a change of conditions on a previously approved project. And our planner is Matt Jones. Is Matt going to present this? Yeah.
My name is Matt. I've been working with the city for a little over 6 months now. I'm happy to be presenting to you for the first time. So
Welcome.
go ahead and share my screen here. So the project we have today, HDP 07-1533 at 3349 Carlisle Terrace. So the project location, it's sort of right in the middle of Carlisle Terrace here. Can folks see my cursor moving as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is where the project location is. In terms of slope, it's relatively, flat in this portion. It does sort of drop off towards the back of the home. So I'm just kind of showing that as a way to show you, how it relates to the overall hillside overlay district. The request today from the applicant is they would like to have the DRC consider approving the color and materials board. They've made some revisions and they've shown us those as part of their as-built and landscaping as well. They're seeking to reduce the amount of landscaping that was originally required by the DRC when the project was approved back in 2015. Just showing you an aerial shot here of what the house looks like from Google Earth. As I mentioned, here's kind of the sloped portion towards the back of the house, not landscaped currently. And then I just kind of wanted to show you a before versus current, kind of a compare and contrast of those two. So this is what the house looked like in March 2019 before they underwent construction. And then if you look over kind of on the right side, this is the picture I took when I went out and did a site visit in June of 2022. So when I was looking at it from sort of a design perspective, there's a couple differences. Porch back brackets have been removed, window shutters removed, brick skirting removed, and some of the landscaping in the front removed. And then sort of some of the changes mainly have come to the roofing and the roof style. So you'll see like a second gable that's set back a little bit, facing this direction instead of the other direction. And then you'll see a dormer in the front elevation here. And then on this next slide, you'll see there was a slight change that they made to their garage. It was going to be a 2 separate door, and it has a larger combined garage. So that was another change they made. So just showing you the back of the house really quick to just show that there is thematic consistency with what they've done in terms of their colors and materials. So, you're seeing down-facing lighting for exterior lighting with black trim that kind of matches the windows, and that's been consistent throughout the house. Same color, same boarded mat and siding. This is what the rear of the house looks like. So the downslope that I was mentioning to you earlier. They do have a large oak tree over on the left side that's on their property, and you can see they've kept the tree protection fencing down there. And I'll show you in just a second the drainage that they did back there. So in terms of color materials, I was just kind of looking to the rest of the neighborhood to see, the house is, it's white and in the hillside area, just want to make sure that that blends in with the surrounding area. So I was looking to different houses in the neighborhood, and at 3411 Suite, I found that there was something with somewhat of a similar pattern with the sort of black and white. And then across the street at 3348, you can see very similar design, very similar colors and materials, just to show that there's precedent there. I also wanted to just provide a quick update that they completed their drainage to the engineer's satisfaction in August 2022. So that's been taken care of. So overall for the project status, they made exterior changes to the house, which have been completed. Interior, they're still working on their kitchen remodel and working with the building division on that. In terms of their conditions, basically just standard hold on final items that they have at this point. So waste management plan and landscape maintenance agreement. And then just wanted to give you a sense of what the site plan looks like, original versus revised. So initially they had the home kind of going down the hill, and you can see how it starts to slope back here. They scaled that back pretty considerably, and this was something that was seen favorably by staff. The DRC, when they reviewed the project initially, had some concerns about them, going down the hill that amount. They were going to have to put in a retaining wall there. They were actually seeking a grading permit as well. And then their redesign allowed them to kind of build the home out, consistent with the current outline of the home rather than pushing it to the right side. They were going to have this be kind of an outdoor space with a lawn. And they decided to reduce that. So they scaled it back. It's only 55 feet deep now instead of nearly 70 as what was originally proposed. And as such, if you look, they did not submit a revised landscaping plan. And we had discussions about that. I looked back at the initial conditions of approval because they had wanted, the DRC and staff had initially wanted there to be trees on this side and trees on this side. And that was basically the intent I saw behind that, was that it was to screen from neighbors for some of their outside area that they were planning on utilizing here. And since they reduced the scope, one of the things the property owner and I talked about was to keep the tree here, but to scale back some of this, as it didn't seem like it was needed any longer for privacy. And I did not receive any comments from neighbors, adjacent neighbors, saying that they had wanted that to continue to remain there. And he had indicated that and the property owner will present tonight on this, but he had indicated he wanted to keep these areas free and clear to be able to do rear landscaping in the future. I'm moving forward now to the colors and materials that are proposed. So this is what was initially proposed. You'll see in the staff report, I did a more in-depth analysis. I believe it was, let's see. Yeah, I did a more in-depth analysis on the full modifications that the applicant made, and it's attachment number 10 in the staff report. So here I'm just going to kind of quickly go over this just to focus on kind of the main changes. So board and batten siding remains. They did change the garage door, which I mentioned to you earlier. I think the big thing I was focusing on here was, I showed you the photo earlier, and I felt like there were a few items based on the original home versus the redesign that were subtracted. And I just thought, with kind of large white exterior, that having some visual relief would be appreciated. And so, I spoke with the applicant about this, and they indicated that we both thought that maybe landscaping would be the best way for them in terms of cost effectiveness, but also just to meet that need. So I'm bringing this picture up again just to show you. So I noted this in the staff report, but you'll kind of see, the bottom portion of this isn't quite finished, and there really was initially supposed to be a sort of tan skirt that was proposed here for this lower portion. That wasn't put in. You know, the property owner indicated that there were financial concerns with putting that in. And so to me, it seemed like it you know, the recommendation could possibly be to put landscaping in there. So I included that as a condition for condition number 27. And that would just be primarily along this left side here. And one thing I wanted to note too was I did not do field measurements of what the height of that portion, the exposed concrete foot of the home portion was. I said it was approximately between 1 and 2 feet, and the property owner got back to me today and said it was about 6 to 7 inches. So I don't know if that'll affect the commission's final decision on how much landscaping should be required there, but I just wanted to note that. In terms of public comments, I didn't receive any prior to the staff report, but I did receive 3 from adjacent neighbors. And I kind of put the quotations here of summarizing how they felt about the project. Generally, the comments were supportive. I didn't receive anything saying that they wanted changes or that they didn't want the commission to consider approving the proposal from staff. So just wanted to note that these came in all within the past 2 days. I'll just give you another minute in case you're still reading. Okay, so for the proposed change of conditions and the recommendation for the color of materials board, it would be to accept the revisions. But as I mentioned, staff would like to see the front landscaping added to address the lower wall material change. The board and batten siding not being continued all the way down to just be able to screen that better and to provide more visual relief for the front of the building. The second request is for landscaping, just to require a revised submittal to planning staff that incorporates a rear yard oak and front yard landscaping. And the rear yard oak is a 24-inch box, and it was consistent in terms of size and placement with what was initially approved. So I listed below with the full revised condition of approval number 27, what my proposal is for that language to read, and open to any suggestions for improvements to that. But I'm just trying to capture the general essence of it and make sure that it's adequately enforceable as well. The recommendation from staff is to adopt DRC Resolution 2022-11, subject to revised conditions. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions for Matt?
Yeah, I have some. Matt, can you give us an idea why they did not come to DRC as these changes were being proposed rather than already initiated? And is this the original contractor? Is this a build by owner? What is the status? It seems like this project was approved by DRC before any of us were on the DRC. And it's taken quite a while now. I mean, I understand COVID was part of in there, but it seems like we've gone a long period of time, lots of stuff done without coming to DRC to get approvals.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the timeline, this was a project that was undertaken by Sarah Allen, who I'm sure all of you know, she worked here for a while. She was the project planner for this project. And I think I noted in my staff report, she had made some staff level approvals for the project during construction. So as I noted in my presentation earlier, with that prior photo, in 2019, they still had not started construction. I don't know exactly the history behind why that was. All I know is 2020, when that came around, that Sarah approved several changes, which included a change to the roofing, a change to the dormer, and then also scaling back the project off of the hill, which they thought, I think she thought at the time, it seemed like from her notes, was consistent with what DRC's intention was which was to limit hillside development. So that's right.
And did she approve the elimination of the skirt out front?
To my knowledge, she did not.
Okay, but you did say that she modified the dormers on the roof.
Correct.
Okay. and the garage door.
Correct.
And the change in windows,
Yes.
but not the brick skirt and not the color changes.
Correct.
Okay,
But wait,
thanks.
the bricks, it wasn't the brick skirt. The brick skirt was gone in the first round. It was just a smaller skirt, right?
Yeah, it was a replacement skirt.
Okay, any other questions?
My question is more procedural. When something like this happens, when there are changes that are made and approvals aren't made in advance, like what's our sort of responsibility, or do we just kind of make a decision now that's applicable? Like, I guess just trying to understand sort of the overall protocol.
Well, if Nancy is still here, I know she's stepped back for a minute. She might be best to answer.
Can you repeat the question?
I'm just wondering what our sort of role or protocol is on something like this, where something was approved and then the design wasn't executed as approved. Is there any, I'm just trying to understand, is there, or do we just sort of look at it through fresh eyes? What's the kind of responsibility to the prior decision on our behalf?
It would be with fresh eyes.
Okay.
So if they did anything that wasn't approved by, or wasn't reviewed by staff after entitlement, if Sarah had approved it, it would be, it should be fine. Usually staff consults the chair before making that decision, but in this case, it would come back as a change of conditions.
Okay.
And it would be within our authority to approve or not approve the change.
Yeah, from experience, we have had projects where we did not approve, and we've had projects like this where we have approved.
Okay, any other questions for Matt or Nancy? Then we have an opportunity for the applicant to present if they would like.
I will be bringing in Mr. Colachico.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, good
Yes.
evening.
Hey, guys, how you doing? Thank you for taking the time to review this matter. I do appreciate it. I understand there's some challenges with that. So I'm going to share my screen. You're going to have to bear with me. This is a web version of Zoom I'm not familiar with. So I'm trying to share.
Right down.
Share screen. Thank you, Catherine. And share. So let's see, Colachico, DRC. Okay, tell me when can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So I just wanted to start out, and Matt, first of all, thank you for your thoroughness and your ability to kind of mediate between this. And certainly there's been no disrespect meant by, some of the questions I heard earlier were, why did the applicant do certain things a certain way? And, listen, I'm certainly not a builder. I'm doing the very best that I can to meet the needs of what was approved and what I interpret was approved, and the multiple plan iterations that, again, there was a significant plan change, which I'm going to walk you guys through here in a second. I know Matt did touch on it, but I do need to note that the majority of the conditions that were set forth by the DRC were abided by, and most of them were done and completed to date. The original design, second point, was approved by DRC. There was, as Matt noted, almost a 40% reduction per staff guidance. We thought it would be very favorable. We worked very diligently. We changed architects. We redid the plan. We streamlined it. We pulled back from the hill. Again, all consistent with what the DRC had asked for. Again, trying to demonstrate a willingness to work through this challenge and work through some of the challenges that were brought up in the prior meetings. Dramatically reduced the amount that we impinged on the slope. there was some, I think the stem, and going back to one of the questions earlier, why did the applicant go in a particular direction with some of the changes? I mean, I can go in further detail, but there was just, again, not a color board that was required for the new design that was approved. I built it, and my position was I built it as is to match, as you saw in the pictures that Matt shared. The view is very, very similar to what was in place prior. I thought, again, it is what it is. Looking back, hindsight 2020, being 2020, maybe I would have proposed a color board then. That, something I've learned along the way. And, again, going through this process was something that, I understand the severity of some of the decisions that were made here on my part, but they were not malicious intent, but we're trying to abide by what I interpreted the approval to be. The existing structure, just noting, was white as far as back to 1974, probably longer, built in 1955, but I have proof that it was built to 1974. It was a white structure. There's minimal impact visually to the square footage surface area on both the front and rear elevations, about 35 square feet in the back. And that is really just the two gable ends. Is really the main surface area by my calculations. Minimum hillside impact or exposure. The house is actually on the opposite, as I think as Matt was trying to point out. The major hillside is directly across the street from us, where you would see much more, it'd be much more visible to the public. There's only really one neighbor in the back that has view of my house on this, on the rear elevation. Again, continuing to put in the oak tree, even though that the main point from DRC in the last point was that they needed to soften the retaining wall, even though the retaining wall is not in. Again, in an effort to work collaboratively with you, putting in an oak tree is certainly something that we would stand behind as an applicant. And again, just noting, as Matt said, there are significant neighbor support for this project. There's not been anybody that has rejected or brought up concerns about either the landscaping or the colors. I'm not going to go through it, but as you can see here, there's significant, because Matt did touch on this, there's significant design changes. Noting that there were staff planning and also architectural staff changes on both my end and on the town's end. The reason for the reduction in landscaping, just to be perfectly clear, is that there's really it's a completely different set of plans that was built than what was approved by DRC. And again, being not a professional builder, navigating this, the majority have been met. I'm trying to highlight here on the key points on the landscaping aspect. There's not a rear patio. There's not a living area. There's not a rear exit enlisted in number 3. On the right side, number 2 and number 5, there's not an entranceway on the side. Again, those are the reasons for that. Again, not trying to dismiss what was put forth by the DRC in the last go round. It's just a whole nother animal than what was originally approved. It's just a far scaled down version of the house and streamlined. Again, trying to denote here on a revised landscaping plan showing landscaping, as Matt alluded to, in the front, and then the oak tree in the rear. I'm going to stop sharing at this point. I would appreciate your support on this. I just ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner, questions for the applicant? Anyone? Okay, then thanks very much. So with that, we are open to public comment if there are any. Matt did share some in writing. Matt, are there any of the public who would like to comment? Or Nancy?
There are a few. I will be bringing in Brooke Mancinelli. You are promoted to panelist, so you need to unmute yourself in order to speak.
Hi, Can you hear me all right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. My name's Brooke Mancinelli. I live at 3348 Carlisle Terrace, directly across the street. I believe there was a picture of my home in your presentation. I also just wanted to speak in support of the Cola Chicos project. They're doing what I would say is a service to the neighborhood, and they're updating the house, and I can support the updated landscaping plan, and they've gone a great distance to making the house fit in well with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will be bringing in Christina Stern.
Hi, my name's Christina Sturm. We live at 3343 Oak Court, so I'm speaking as the owner and resident of that house. So we're the large property that's on the north-facing slope that we're probably the only people that have a good view of the rear of their house, other than maybe some folks up on Sweet Drive. I did submit a public comment, but it was just a little while ago. So we're supportive of the project as well. We were really excited when they got started on their projects. We know they were planning it for several years, and we knew it was going to be great for them to have more space and improved space. In terms of how it impacts us, we have no privacy issues because our house is at the front of our lot. But we would appreciate any landscaping. I didn't see actually where the oak tree that they were planning to put in would go. But some time ago, they had 2 mature oak trees. I think one was sick or dead, and so they had to take that out. So currently, the only landscape between them, the only landscaping that screens their property, other than if you're like on our property and our own trees are blocking, is the one oak tree. So in the winter time, when there's no leaves on that, like we're just seeing the whole back of their house. And we appreciate that their house isn't projected out as much as originally planned. I'm sure pulling it back makes it, from our vantage point, feels a lot less looming. But right now, with the lack of landscape screening, it feels like it's pulled out to the edge of the flat part of their lot, and it's just much more visible than any of the other adjacent neighbors. So again, for us, it doesn't, we're not worried about our privacy, but like when we're in the back of our yard, at our planter beds or on our pathways, we have a full open view of the back of their house, and it feels a bit uncomfortable, like we're intruding in their space. And I'm sure they feel that way too, because I know they're going to start using that outdoor space in some manner. So just, anything that they could do to help sort of define outdoor spaces and give them some privacy from when we're using our backyard would be appreciated. And anything that would sort of soften and mitigate like the bright white color of their rear facade would be appreciated from our part. And then lastly, I think they have done a lot of cleanup on their hillside. If they could maybe do one more pass and just make sure any construction debris has been cleaned up, because the bottom of our ravine is a drainage channel, and the hillside's so steep that all the lots have things sort of like tumble down there, and that can start to clog up the channel. And we have an 8-foot tall field fence that was permanent when we did our additional remodel that is on our side of the ravine. Although our actual property line crosses the ravine, and our shared property corner is on their like hillside up a little ways from the ravine. So this weekend we were checking we have animals that we're trying to keep coyotes out because we have goats and chickens. And if the ravine starts to get clogged up, the water can start to erode more, and it starts to erode away at the bottom of our fence. So that's our only other request is that they can just make sure that we did see some insulation down there. So just cleaning that up. And in the email that I sent earlier this afternoon, I included pictures. Maybe staff could pull those up with the view. We can see their house from our deck. And then just comparing like how their house presents versus the adjacent neighbors. And then the view standing from our rear yard looking up at their house and the drainage. So if staff could pull those up for me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. And Matt or Nancy, I don't know if you have Christina's email from earlier and could share that image.
Yes, I can do that right now.
So in this picture, you can see like the branches that are in front of their house, that's the one mature oak tree. But what you can see, like in the wintertime when the leaves are gone, nothing screening our view of the whole back of their house. And then this is like from our deck looking more toward the east, and so there are other neighbors. And you can see like, you know, these homes, I don't know if they have deeper lots or whatnot, but they're definitely more set back and they have more trees and things. So there's a better screening between our residents and theirs. Oh, sorry, this is rotated. So you saw some pictures that staff took looking down. So we have some pathways back here and planter beds. So we're back here with some frequency doing gardening and things, and just sort of feel bad that we're looking right at the back of their house and their hot tub and stuff. And it'd be nice to have some privacy separations. And then this is the drainage area. So we have a wire field fence here, and there's blackberries and things growing in there, and like concrete that's been dumped over the years. And then I think the applicant and neighbors, there's several PVC pipes. So this was all probably done before people had to get drainage plans approved by the city. But there's several, you know, yards that are draining into this area. So when it's raining, there's a pretty good flow of water in there. So we just want to keep, you know, try to keep it clear to prevent further erosion on the banks.
Okay, thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
this. If the applicant has any response to comments, we'll wait till we hear all comments. Nancy, any other public comments?
There are 3 more hands raised. I'm next promoting Oleg.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to comment. My name is Oleg Ananyev. I live across the street from the Cochico's residence at 3346, and my house looks out directly onto the Cochico home from my living room. I'd like to note that I fully support the home in its current state. I think the color is perfect. The landscaping from my point of view is just fine, and I like the exposed concrete skirt. I think it provides an industrial type feel. So I unconditionally approve the home, and thank you for allowing me to comment.
Okay, thanks very much.
Next is Mark and Kenzie Miller.
Okay.
Hello, are you there?
Yes, hi, we hear you.
Yes, hi, we hear you. Hi, my name is Mackenzie Miller, and I live at 3340 Carlisle Terrace. Thank you so much for allowing me to add my comments. I am in full support of the Cochico's remodel. I think everything that they've been doing is just absolutely excellent. I can't think of a single thing that has been displeasing from what I can see. I love the color. I think that it's a really smart color. It fits in with the house. It's really the exact same color that they had previously. It's just a fresher, updated paint job of really the exact same thing. So I can't imagine that would create a problem for anyone. I love the landscaping. I don't see any problems with the landscaping. I don't see any issues with any of the footing. I'm not even really sure what that is. Anyway, I just think it's great in every single aspect. They have my full support. I hope you guys approve their change request. And that's it. Did you want to say something, Mark?
No, I just in full agreement with Kenzie on this. It's a lovely updated look, and the color fits in with, as noted, a number of the other houses in the neighborhood are white. It's a popular color, so I don't see any issue there at all. So.
Okay, thanks very much.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks very much.
Next is Bill Whiteman.
Okay. Hi, I guess we're here. I'm Bill Whiteman. I live at 3355 Carlisle Terrace, 2 houses to the, I guess it's west of where the Colachicos live. I support their color selection. I think it was white before they started the work. It's still white. It looks much better now than it did before. I think the improvements have been very nice. I think they should be able to do what they want with the landscaping. I don't find the skirting or the lack of skirting offensive at all. And if they choose to put some landscaping in, I think that's fine. So I would urge the DRC to approve the project and move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's one more hand raised, Michelle Alessandria.
Hi, can everyone see me okay?
Yes.
Not sure why my name says Michelle Alessandria. I'm Amanda Alessandria. I live at 3336 Carlisle Terrace, and I drive by the Colachicos house almost every day. I'm in full support of the Colachicos remodel. Personally, I think it looks amazing whenever I drive by it. It makes me smile. I think it actually brightens up the neighborhood. I absolutely love the color. And kind of what everyone else has been saying, whatever they want to do with the landscape, they have my wholehearted support. I think it looks great. And then any problems with the footing, again, I'm not super sure what that means, but I think the Colachicos have done an excellent job with the remodel. So that is what I have to say.
Thank you.
I'm seeing no other hands raised.
Okay, then with that, the applicant has the opportunity to respond to any comments if you'd like.
So yes, so first of all, thank you again for your comments and for those who joined in support, and Christina as well for providing your perspective. You know, I think you've heard tonight from most of the neighbors are in support. I'd ask that you continue with staff recommendations as outlined by Matt. You know, certainly want to work with you. This is you know, we're here for the long term. This is a community. We feel that. You know, I understand Christina's point on screening. Christina, as per your comments, it's really mostly for us than it is for you. So we're not looking in at you, but you can see in for us. So that is why we agreed to the oak tree, the large oak tree that will be there. And your point is duly noted with any ancillary debris that may have collected down at the bottom. I'm very glad to hear that you would be okay with me cleaning that. I would love to do that. Take a weed whacker to the thorns that are down there. Happy to do that. Happy to clean up any debris and keep that clean to avoid erosion. That is absolutely something I would be willing to take on. Do you want to add anything? No? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Then with that, we are open to commissioner comments. Would any of you like to start? Glenn?
Go
Oh,
ahead.
Kristen, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, first of all, I went out and I visited the site. So, right. The white color is duplicated by several homes nearby. The style is duplicated by several homes nearby. Personally, I don't have many problems with what was ultimately done. What I do have a problem with is how it was proceeded with, because I was the chair and I was never questioned about any of this. Sarah would question me oftentimes while I was the chair on things. So I think the idea that they had the architect revise thing and they thought that the color scheme suddenly didn't apply because it was changed. I think that the way that we function as the DRC is we try to do a fair and equitable job. And when someone goes and changes everything on their own prerogative, it really undermines the DRC being able to do that. I don't want to be a prick and basically say, oh, you can't, put back the skirt. I don't think it has that much function at this point in time. The foundation that's exposed is only really 6 to 7 inches. The landscaping, while everyone has said do what they want to do, landscaping in the front yard is horrible. It's just burn out grass. There's not a single bush that was up against the house anymore. And I think something needs to be done on the landscape design. And I think this is an opportunity to basically pull out the lawn, put in some drought tolerant California natives and improve the appearance of the front. As far as the side trees and that stuff disappearing, I have no problem with that. If Christina is going to be satisfied with just one oak in the back, I mean, again, when you tell me that there was 2 oaks and one died off or something, the question that it raises is that we have a tree replacement ordinance. Where are the replacement trees? There are no replacement trees there. So that's what I'm really concerned about, is that it seems like we're being asked to buy into this at the last moment when it really is awkward and it doesn't really represent how DRC functions. I don't know how much is staff's responsibility. I don't know how much is the owner's responsibility, but I have to tell you, I don't like what's going on. But all said, the design's not that bad.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. If I might ask a staff question related to Glenn's comment, I don't know if Matt or Nancy, you can answer this. Is the design as it is proposed right now with the 1 replacement tree compliant with the Lafayette tree ordinance?
Sorry, my computer froze for a second. Policy is that if it's a dead tree but still standing, it's a 1-to-1 replacement. If the tree fell naturally, then there's no mitigation requirement.
So in this case,
I'm not sure what was done when that tree was removed or whether that tree had fallen.
Are we talking about just to be clear about the tree, are we talking about the pine tree that needed the arborist report with the original DRC resolution?
my question was not specific. It was more general, that
Okay.
with the trees that were removed and the 1 tree that's being added, is this project compliant with the ordinance? Maybe you can't answer this right now, but I think that we should ask them to comply with the ordinance.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
so just to clarify on that. So the initial landscaping plan in terms of, protected trees or native trees that are usually required for replacement, the owner initially put on their landscaping plan that they were going to put a 24-inch box tree. And the recommendation from staff is that they retain it. So in terms of what they proposed versus what is now being proposed, it's the same. The other plants on the side are like 15-gallon crepe myrtles or 5-gallon perhaps. They're not as large and they're not of a native species.
And they weren't being used to offset removal of anything.
No, they were not. Not to my
Okay,
knowledge.
that answers my question. Thanks. Kristen, would you like to comment?
Sure. I'm in complete agreement with Glenn. I don't have any concerns with the design changes that were made, although I do have some concerns with how it all unfolded. I think if we believe in the role of the DRC and believe that the processes that we have are making the commission's work as equitable as possible, I think when things like this happen, it's hard for us to stand up for what we're doing and defend it as really looking out for the best of everyone equally. So I do have concern with the process, no concerns with the design. I also agree with Glenn that the landscaping looks pretty just undistinguished, right? I mean, or maybe it's distinguished in a negative way. There's just not really any plants that look like they're thriving now. And I think that is an opportunity. It's one thing that we're lucky living in California to be able to have beautiful landscapes. And I think that just making some of those improvements in the front yard and the rear yard to provide more privacy in the rear yard, those would be the recommendations I would make. The side yard doesn't feel, or the side setback don't feel critical to me.
Okay, thanks, Christina. Eugene?
Yes, I'm following the same narrative that Glenn and Christina mentioned here tonight. I think we can't set new precedent. I think setting new precedent of process and procedure and protocols with DRC is not a proper way, I think, to move forward. So I just want to make sure that as we look at this application and work with this applicant and the staff for what has become what it is at this point of review, that we make sure that we're not setting a new precedent for future applicants to ignore the city mandated findings of approvals and all the other things we go through, and then come back with a already built project, as beautiful as it may be, that now the DRC has to react to. This is not a fun situation to be, although this project is not that controversial, nor has other issues. The neighbors are all very supportive, which is very welcoming tonight. So from my side, it's about setting precedents. Do not want to set new precedents in our city. There's a legitimate reason why DRC is here, and there's a seriousness about the work we do, and we mean it when we say it and get approvals. So that's an important thing that we need to do. And today when Glenn, who served as a chair, working with the staff, did not recognize that this piece of project was even discussed in the various permutations that it went forward with, that is very bothersome for me. So the key thing that I would like to see is that landscape plan. Landscape plan would address Christine and Glenn's concerns, as well as Ms. Stern's concern about that relationship across the neighbor's property and the oak tree location. So a landscape plan could be a simple plan, but that's what I would recommend we see. And so that we can confirm. Okay, that's all. And I'm agreeing with the staff recommendations, and also with Glenn and Christine's observation with the landscape enhancement request for the front, as well as the further documentation of the oak tree on the back. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Eugene. Armin?
I agree with the comments from all the commissioners. And as mentioned, I think the DRC role, and involvement should be ahead of time, that they could just help with the improvements of the design. And in terms of this specific project, I'm in support of the house, how it's been designed and it's improved, but the landscape needs work. And I agree with the comments from Kristen and Glenn about the front yard landscape and the backyard landscape, and additional screening and privacy for the backyard.
Okay, thanks very much, Armin. In my comments, I agree with almost everything that my colleagues have said here. The process is a problem, and I don't need to say more. Although I appreciate that apparently the applicant did reach out to staff for a number of changes. We are faced with a number of changes that were new even to staff, that have been implemented, and that's not something we would like to. That's not the way we'd like to see projects proceed. The exception that I take with the rest of you has to do with the color. And I know that the neighbors are supportive of the white, and I would say it on the frontage, I don't find the white bothersome. However, the hillside ordinance is written to consider distant views of properties. And I think homes on Sweet Drive and on Oak Court, as Christina Sturm demonstrated in her photographs, they can see the bright white of that house in on the grassy slope with some amount of tree foliage, and where you have a view of the white in between the shrubs or just fully, the white is very stark and strong on the hills, and that is just what our hillside ordinance is trying to avoid. As far as other houses and other precedents, I walked the length of Carlisle Terrace. There is one other white house on Carlisle. It happens to be right across the street. There are no other white houses on that street. There are some other white houses further distant, but it is not the typical color in the neighborhood. And I would not like to see it become the color that we see on slopes from a distance. I think that the bright color, the bright, strong white on the hillsides does not contribute favorably to the impression of our hills as seen from a distance. So I support staff recommendations with the exception of the color. If the applicant would like to change the color to something other than what was approved, I would invite a new color board that's a darker color than white, even if it doesn't exactly match what they showed. But personally, I do not support the white color. So with that, if you all feel differently, you can move to approve the resolution as written.
Well, I think, John, you brought up a very valid point, although the truth is that they had done no renovation to this, it would have been a white building, So that's the only reason I would say is, okay, can I live with this? Because I would have been living with it if they hadn't renovated. But I agree with you is that there is a visibility element of it from the other two streets. And that is probably why the original DRC recommendation was for more of the earth tone colors that were first there.
Mm-hmm.
It just is really awkward because once again, it's painted. Everything is done. Now, what are we going to do about it?
I don't believe it's too serious an imposition to ask for a color change rather than this color that is not approved. I appreciate that the applicant has improved their property and that the neighbors appreciate that. And from the street frontage side, where it's contained, the white is certainly not offensive. But from the back side and from distance from streets further away, seeing white boxes on the hill is to me undesirable. So is anybody ready to make a motion?
Before you make the motion, Mr. Colachico has been repeatedly raising his hand. I don't know if you would like to hear a response from him or go forward with your vote.
We will let him speak briefly.
Okay. I will promote him.
Sorry, guys. Sorry about the delay there. Listen, John, I hear where you're coming from. Glenn, I hear your comments. Again, I just stress to the fact that, look, this wasn't done to sidestep the DRC, even though, I worked with Sarah hand in hand early on, brought changes to her. I think even Christina didn't object to the color, unless I misheard that. It was really only that I took down screening and then clearing of the land. And again, to Glenn's point, which I appreciate dramatically, the house was white since 1974. And again, I operated, because the color board that was approved with the original design I operated since there wasn't an approved color board for the new design that was done. I thought it was as is. We can debate that I'm wrong. I'll to some extent admit that. But, again, not looking to usurp any of the people on this commission and what you're doing for this community. Again, I ask for your support. I apologize that we're here. I'm asking for a path forward, given the amount of time, energy, and expense that have been incurred to get to this point. It's been dramatic with 2 kids in college. I'm looking for a little bit of support. I really would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, do we want to split this into 2 resolutions and see whether or not we are in agreement with the repainting as a separate resolution item, and then the other item would be whatever the landscaping or other changes that we want?
Yeah, I have a question, the kind of discussion. When we exact the specific color when we initially permit projects, how do we manage and make sure that that is enforced through the entire duration of the life of that property? Because I have seen at some of my friends' places that some of the house colors have changed over years. So I've seen a darker house that's turned white. So, one thing that I've been speculating on over the years while I've been on DRC is how do we help staffing or somehow to enforce the original intent of the color, even paint color, but it's hard, right? So I think initially we want it to be ideal and theoretically aligned with what our city, discretionary reviews pertain to and direct. But over the longer course, let's say 20 years down the road or 10 years down, even 5 years down the road, I've seen some houses change colors when ownership changes, right? So I'm just speculating on how do we do that down the road. That's a bigger policy issue and other things. But tonight, I'm open to this discussion if, that is important to our conversation, about having a clear foundational direction about where it is, and then have a discussion if the color should change or not. I'm okay with that if we have to. But
I can tell you personally that I had a house built in Lafayette, and I signed a maintenance agreement that I'm supposed to maintain the color scheme, the landscaping, the design that was approved. Now, if I want to change it, I have to go down. I'm supposed to be going down and asking for permission, basically.
Right. That's what I have in my house too.
But you're right.
Yeah.
If someone hasn't come in with needing a building permit, they just paint. And it doesn't only happen on residential. I mean, it's supposed to be even downtown. We're supposed to approve designs, and Bank of the West just went in and painted everything gray one Saturday.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a bigger items, but Glenn, thank you for pointing out that there is some protective measure in the transaction when you buy the property, and I have it too. So good. Okay. At least we have something there. Okay, go back. Glenn, you were speculating whether to put 2 motions.
Well, I think we have to decide whether or not we're collectively we're going to approve the color, or where we're going to make them change the color. So, my opinion is I agree with John almost completely, but I'm willing to live with it the way it is.
Maybe landscape on the backside or something to fracture the whiteness of the building. Now that we have to reverse engineer from what has been painted.
Maybe you can paint the backside only.
I mean, really, that would address my concern, even though it wouldn't lend to a coherent design. I mean, Christina Sturm did call it bright white, but she did not insist on a change of color or suggest that would have changed it. But clearly the bright white is something she sees. I mean, part of where I'm coming from is that our hillside development ordinance is clear. And the approved project complied with it, and the project as executed does not.
Right. Right. And we as a commissioners have been trying to stay away from bright whites in the hill for sure. You know, we've been very clear about that. Okay, I'm open to conversation here.
So if one of you would like to make a
Armin,
motion.
what's your opinion? Which way are you leaning?
So since the original house was white, and I agree with the design guidelines and how we would like to avoid stark white, I would recommend landscaping in the backside to just screen the house and just mitigate, but not painting the house or repainting the house with new color.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with Armin. I was leaning that way too. That way you're working with the applicant for where it is right now, but we now have to still look at landscape plan in that back area. So that would help to further, you know, filter the whiteness, whiteness.
That would also serve the purpose as kind of a screening and providing a little bit more privacy for the other houses as well.
Yeah, Matt, the 24-inch box tree, is it a live oak or a valley oak?
I'll need to double check the plans.
Len, it sounds like you have a preference.
Well, the live oak is evergreen,
Right.
so it will shadow the paint all year long, whereas the valley oak, all winter long, it will be completely open to vision.
In the resolution, I did not specify, I don't believe.
So if we decide to go with the option of requiring more landscaping, but accepting the color, are we going to require them to come back and present their landscape plan?
No, I think staff can approve it. I mean, it's very modest landscaping. I mean, there's not a lot that's going to be involved.
So we'll just stipulate something like that. It needs to be the proper oak and
You know, to be honest, is, you know, they took out a lot of myrtle trees that they buy 2 live oaks and plant them. You know, you're going to shield a better portion of the house, especially once the oaks become more mature.
I think for record keeping purposes, whether we as commissioners see this application again or not, it's a staff level thing I think could be handled by. But I think for record keeping purpose, we need some kind of document, a landscape diagram as it may be, so that we know what we approved. In the future, no neighbors complain that somehow the trees are no longer there or whatever else. So
Yeah,
that
I believe the draft resolution does include a landscape plan to be approved and then constructed. Is that right, Matt?
Yes.
Okay.
And the recommendation was for that to be approved at staff level.
Okay. Well, I'm ready to make a motion then, right? I think.
Go ahead, please.
So I make a motion to approve this application per the staff report and staff recommendation. Staff has already outlined the motion clearly, and I'm endorsing that motion.
I'll second that.
Can I ask a question? What does that involve on landscaping in the front?
Oh, add that in.
A more robust landscaping.
Yes.
Some landscape.
As the motion author, I'd like to include a motion to further address the front lawn area and front streetscape with more robust landscaping. And let the staff work with the applicant to address that concern.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second the motion.
So Matt, is that input clear to you?
I just had a clarifying question, or maybe I missed it. What was requested for the landscaping in the rear?
Well, they need to do a revised plan, and they need to address or look at the planning arrangements so that it helps shield the color of the mass of the white.
And so just to further clarify, so what currently is proposed is one 24-inch box tree.
That's probably not going to be enough.
Okay.
It isn't enough. It's not probably, it is not enough.
So we're talking at least 2, and we'll have to, staff will have to look at a plan and with regard to the amount of screening proposed. Okay, is that, Matt, have you amended your draft? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, then we can vote. So in favor of the motion, Glenn?
Aye. Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Armin?
Aye.
And I will vote no. Okay, that concludes that item. Moving on our agenda, there is no study sessions this evening. We have the one other piece of business is for ARC volunteer this Friday, the 16th.
I can handle that.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you, Glenn.
Nancy, do you know how large of agenda is going to be on Friday? Because I do have something at around 10:30.
There are just 2 items.
Okay, no problem.
There's the Oak Hill project and the Scout Hut project. I did not mention that in my email for to determine whether the GRC was available, but that is also going to be a joint hearing. But that would be the shorter, that would be first on the agenda. So it's just 2 items.
Okay. And we are on for Monday. Are we first on the agenda? Or where do we have to attend the whole meeting or what?
There are only 2 items on the agenda and both of them are going to be joint.
Oh, okay.
I know we talked about that. I'm not sure I received a calendar item, but that is this coming Monday, the 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
And all materials have been uploaded online.
Yeah, I know I had replied to that, but I hadn't heard back. Okay, thank you. With that, are there any commissioner reports this evening?
None.
Any staff liaison reports this evening?
The last commission hearing discussed the site visits to a couple of the properties, and I just wanted to see what their availability is before I notice it per notification requirements.
Do you have a date to propose?
I do not. I was going to check in with the commission to see what they're open to.
Were we thinking mid-October? Is that? I know Glenn had some obligations.
Yeah, I'm gone November 11th through basically Thanksgiving.
I'm gone the 2nd week of October.
So like the 3rd week of October, we're looking at?
I can make that work for me.
Yeah, I assume that it's going to be during the, in the middle of the day because it's starting to get darker earlier. But with some notice, I have to see what's proposed, that it doesn't conflict with business meetings I have.
And also I'll be out of the country on a business trip, October, November area. There's a couple of times I'm going to go back and forth. So October, November. But if you guys have to go and forward with me and go for it.
Yeah, good luck, Nancy. You're not going to find it.
I will send out a doodle maybe, and then bring it back to commission. Okay.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing else this evening, we may adjourn. Thank you all very much.